Hi, I'm Jason Jorgensen. It is time for another edition of Husker Chat, brought to you by Acres Equipment. As always, we're joined by Sean Callahan, the publisher of Husker Online. Well, Sean, we have a win to talk about, as it was kind of a slow start for Nebraska, but eventually they took over and played pretty well against Fordham.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those games. It's like in golf. You go to the driving range, you buy a bucket of 100 balls, and you just start swinging. And that was Nebraska on Saturday. I mean, there were some pretty ugly swings early in that game at times, but they kind of found their rhythm and made the most out of that. And that's what a game like that's for. You know, you don't get a game like Fordham in the Big Ten, where you can, kind of try a lot of different things, play a lot of different players. They maximize what that game is, and now the key is, can they build off that into Buffalo?
I thought it was key last week. You talked about how this program needed a game like that, and it had been really a while since Nebraska had had a big blowout victory that a lot of kids got a chance to play.
Yeah, 88 guys got to play. The previous most under Frost, I believe, was 70. And I want to say that was at Maryland, where they pretty much played the entire travel roster that day in 2019. So, to see 88 guys play, getting really an entire second and third unit in, some guys, a lot of guys made the first snaps they've ever played in their career. And that's what that's for. Because when you're playing a Big Ten opponent where all the coaches now make between $4 and $8 million a year, it's really hard to play a lot of guys because the games are tougher and the stakes are higher. So just to have that opportunity, and I think some of the guys like, man, we should have pulled up a little bit ahead earlier in that game, and maybe some of these guys would have played even more than they did. But I think they were just glad to get that third unit in there for a few plays.
Today on Husker Chat, we're joined by Sean Callahan. We're brought to you by Acres Equipment. I think another thing the coaching staff had to like is, one, things went pretty well. Nebraska had a dominant victory, and some of the newcomers that we heard about during the summer and in the fall camp really had big games for Nebraska.
Yeah, Samori Torre and Marquis Stepp, the two prize transfer portal additions for Nebraska, both lived up to expectations. Torre had over 100 receiving. He had a rushing touchdown. Stepp had 18 carries for over 100 yards rushing. So between those two guys, when they were added to the roster in January or December, they got exactly what they thought they were going to get from those two players. So I thought that was really, really big from a confidence standpoint to get them going in the system, get some continuity set up. And now the question is, will Marquis Stepp be the starting running back going forward? I don't see how he's not, but you just never know where the coaches are at on that decision.
We've also seen through the first couple of games some new wrinkles on offense for Coach Frost, bringing back a little bit of option football. Certainly Nebraska's not relying on this, but it's kind of cool to see them running. And Adrian Martinez appears to be pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, they've added kind of a new wrinkle into like their base look in that triple option play. A lot of teams run the run pass option, the RPO, and I think that's just another wrinkle that they brought in. And the key is the quarterback is comfortable with it. But some of those pitches, they make you hold your breath. I mean, they're up there and out there for a long time, and Adrian has executed those plays really well. And I'm sure opponents now are going to scout that more and have a better read on it. And that's where Nebraska has to build off of that and try to kind of create different looks to it as well.
How about this one with Buffalo? This has been an emerging program, but our old coach, Lance Leopold, he went to KU. A lot of the players followed him. How much is left here, and how big of a threat is this on Saturday?
Yeah, you look at Buffalo, and they really are, I mean, in my opinion, the class program in the MAC in all sports. I mean, they're really good in basketball and football both, and it wouldn't surprise me when conference realignment shifts again that they get a call up to a different league from the MAC based on just what they've done in their sports there. But Lance Leipold left that team loaded. They almost won the MAC a year ago. I think if his entire team would have stayed intact and Leipold would still be there, they would be the overwhelming favorite to win the MAC. But they lost 16 guys in the portal. They got a new coach after spring ball ended. So they've got a lot of challenges. But with that said, they did what they needed to do in week one against Wagner, 69-7. Now Wagner is 1-13 over the last two seasons. Not exactly a bell cow FCS program, but they made it look like what they were supposed to. And as we know, that's a lot easier said than done.
As you start to break this one down for the Huskers, what are some big matchups for them this Saturday?
I think line of scrimmage. Can Nebraska's offensive line continue to progress, and can they run the ball? Can they take those base run plays and get 4+ yards on them instead of 1 or 2, and especially early in the game. I think last week we saw that. And then can Nebraska, have the time for Martinez to throw? When he has time, we know he can get it done. He had plenty of time last week. Defensively, can Nebraska physically hold up? They're going to see a team that wants to run right at him. I think those are really the biggest keys on Saturday.
All right, we'll see how it goes. It just felt so refreshing on Saturday. Things, went to form, and boy, if a program ever needed a game like that, certainly Nebraska did last weekend.
Yeah, the fan base needed one of those days where you could just kind of put your feet back and relax. There just hasn't been very many of those days in a long time, as you said, Jason.
All right, Sean, as always, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you.
And that was Sean Callahan, the publisher of Husker Online, joining us for Husker Chat. We're here every week, and of course, it's brought to you by Acres Equipment. I'm Jason Jorgensen.